It is just wonderful to be here with Susie, a beautiful friend of mine, and I am so looking forward to the conversation. I'm looking forward to learning loads from you. So, welcome to Caroline's Corner.
Thanks,
Um,
Caroline. Thanks for
ah,
having me.
Not at all. So, just to everybody, to welcome to Caroline's Corner, and this podcast, the intention and why it was set up was a safe place for conversations to take place. And my intention was to facilitate unique conversations with people who genuinely want to find meaning in their life and to share it with the world. So it is doing its own thing. And so far, there's just been beautiful people, beautiful conversations. And I feel very privileged and very blessed to be part of it. And I just give for me. And it's interesting, I was thinking, well, what do I do or who am I? And all that stuff of who am I. So I was just thinking, at the moment, what I'm choosing to do is I work with, and I just wrote a little bit down. I work with really beautiful people, and it's on Zoom now, so it's global, which is just gorgeous. And I'm also part of a beautiful reading group called The Power of Love, and a friend of mine, Dr. Fran Gray. So I've been every week part of that group. We read the book. It must be coming on 5 years now, and Fran traveled the world and she spoke to the likes of the Foundation of Viktor Frankl, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, and many more. And what I liked is they share their stories of what it was about these people that made them stand out because every one of them knew suffering. Deep suffering, like us all, and yet they didn't let it define them. I'm also this year, which is really cool, I've never done it before. I'm part of a study group, The Great Books of the Inner World. So, learning from the mystics. And what I thought was lovely, I wrote it down, is that how they've sent forward the message of hope and our ability of not only surviving, but to strive in a meaningful way. Because a lot of us are literally surviving. And in my third semester, which is wonderful, my life commitment with Alex, who is Viktor Frankl's grandson. And Viktor Frankl, for me, is such a beautiful human being who was a psychiatrist, and he spent 3 years in four different concentration camps and came out and actually could find meaning in life and went on with his work logotherapy, which I'm studying. His book, Man's Search for Meaning, it's so far sold 70 million copies and it's in 52 languages. And I feel very blessed, very blessed to be part of that journey. So it's a lifelong commitment. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working away as a therapist and really enjoying it. And this podcast, and I think we can send forward because it's like the mystics have said, we don't want you just to read about us, take some of what we're sending forward and help it in your life. So I believe that's what we can do, Susie, is to send forward as well. I get to do this. I have the support and love of two beautiful children. And I know my husband, John, I know his essence and his soul is just smiling, and I feel an old snuggle as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So that's where I'm at for now. I am also I have studied, I meditate, I am so into it. And Susie, the journey, I'm so excited sharing it with people. Would you like, in your own words, to introduce yourself, if that is okay, sweetheart?
Sure, it's so lovely to hear the depth and breadth of what you're doing, Caroline. You're going in deep,
Sure, I'm
and
Mrs. Thank you.
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
I loved Dr. Viktor Frankl as well. It's his work is just stunning. I speak about it in my own work too, so looking forward to chatting with you more about that too.
brilliant.
So, introduction. It's hard to do it, isn't it?
Have a go.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess from a work perspective, I've been very involved in the field of mental health, well-being for a couple of decades almost now. I was predominantly working in the not-for-profit sector for a period of time, which is, I would have connected in with you in that
Mm-hmm.
space. And through that period of, I guess, yearning to be of service and to do what I could, I realized that I was constantly violating my own boundaries, and I didn't know how to take care of myself
Yeah.
in those spaces, which is kind of endemic across many sectors, where we just can experience burnout. And I got really curious about why I was doing that to myself, just kind of experiencing cycles of burnout in this field of work. And I kind of stumbled into the practice of meditation, fell into it in a really magical way. And it had a really profound effect on my life. And 6 months into twice daily practice, I left my role and I traveled to New York to train to and how to become a meditation teacher. And I've essentially been doing trainings and trainings and trainings and advanced trainings for almost a decade now. And I'm now teaching Vedic meditation and working in the field of meditation. So doing, you know, just teaching beautiful souls and doing one-to-one work, doing mass meditation experiences as well. I love bringing big numbers into experience of meditation. Something really powerful happens in the field when you bring big numbers into their hearts in terms of what's generated in that field of awareness. So I love doing that. And I'm living here in a lovely village called Spiddal in Connemara in Galway with my lovely husband, Rory McKiernan, who I know you're very good friends with as
One of
well.
me besties, yeah.
Yeah, he's such a good soul.
Big time.
And so, yeah, we moved to Spiddal almost a year ago. We had emigrated to Australia, and then through a lot of different constellations, we were upped and brought back to Ireland. And so we're in this beautiful community now, living near family on the west coast of Ireland and working away and teaching away and play a bit of music as well and write some songs and make music as well. So yeah, music and meditation are things that really light my heart up, and that's the space that I'm in. So that's a good
Wow.
bracket and introduction.
Oh, it's beautiful. And there was a couple of things. Thank you, sweetheart. And yeah, we've all our paths all crossed many, many years ago. And I really loved what you said that that really resonated that we were all in the not-for-profit and you said there, Susie, across the sector, the burnout, and that is all whatever you call it, industries or whether it's corporate or,
Yeah,
all these titles we give, the burnout it's escalating. And when you said that, we would have been all through choice working because we wanted to, you know, um, to be a service or to give back, or we were passionate, and particularly mental health in Ireland,
yeah,
particularly at that time. But everybody was burning out, and I'm really struck by that. And as a therapist, that's huge, and that's why EAP, Employee Assistance Program, that people have access to it. And sometimes it's tokenism, and other times it's actually sincere. It's part of their well-being program, um, and the burnout it can a lot of the times be work. So that question you said there, why am I doing this to myself? Could we look at that? Because
yeah,
that's where ownership and responsibility hangs out, and it's not necessarily a place we like to touch off.
for sure. And I kind of see it as two kind of strokes or functions in that realm. And one is, there's a lovely Krishnamurti quote around, I can't remember it verbatim, but it's how can we be well in a very sick society, essentially. You might know the quote. I can't remember it verbatim
I
now,
know
but
of it, yeah.
it's there is a profound sickness in our culture and in our society. And another way I kind of phrase it sometimes, it's how can you be well in a sick sea?
Mhm.
When the environment, when the culture, when the systems, when everything that we're bathing in is, has large elements of illness to it. And then we're trying to maintain an integrity of wellness, navigating that realm. And, as we both know, Caroline, everything is interconnected.
Totally.
We're not these siloed human beings in a room. We're all connecting and weaving and experiencing each other on a deep level. And so we can be affected by the systems that we enter into. And it can be really hard to maintain wellness when you're entering into a field that can feel unwell. So it's first to acknowledge and honor that the systems that we've created in this country and across many lands are not necessarily nourishing at a deep level the spaces of work that we enter into. And I know there's great work being done all over the world around
Yeah.
trying to do something about this. And then, as you so rightly put it, where's the ownership? How are you taking responsibility for your own actions in the space?
Yeah.
And yeah, the way I phrase it for me personally, and that's my experience, is I see it as a violation of my own boundaries. And you can go deep into that and feel into, well, why did I do that?
Mm.
Why did I experience that? And there can be elements of people pleasing, of
Yeah. Yeah.
fawning, of wanting to be liked, of being
Totally.
perceived as a good person. You're worth something. And all of these constructs of the mind that are not true and that are potentially conditioned from our childhoods or things that we've experienced, traumas that we've experienced, that can kind of get crystallized, and we pour ourselves into the world through these kind of prisons, in our minds, in our bodies, in our beings. And so the beauty of meditation and why it helped me so much is that I realized that I was externally referenced a lot. And what I mean by that is you're constantly eyes open into the world. It's all about the external world. And I had never been taught how to go into myself, how to just sit and be and become internally referenced and bathe in my own being. And so when I began to do that, I could see and start to track and have visibility on patterns that were I was living with, that were not congruent with my own deepest nature. But I could only see it when I sat with myself and sat with the discomfort of sitting with myself. And so that's a bit of a roundabout tangent to your question,
No,
but
no, it's
that's
not.
that's
Yeah.
the answer to
Yeah.
what you asked.
And I think, no, I was with you. I was on the journey there with you. And, as you were talking, the words that there's an idea now, not enough. So I see it in my work. And it's like, it's not, I'm not enough. My degrees are not enough. My This is not enough. My mothering is not enough. So there's always striving, which is force. And if you keep doing that, and like what you were saying, you carry. So when we come into this earth, we don't pick the color of our eyes, we don't pick where we end up being born, we don't pick up, a lot of actually it's sort of lots pre-planned before we even hit this earth. And then there is the influence, and that's how your whole system is influenced by the family that you come into, by your community and your culture. And then a lot of people, and this is where I would go a different road for me, and it's that a lot of people will go, well, that is why I am, and that's why I do what I do, which is fine, but take no ownership. So for me, it's like, yes, all of this will influence you, but it doesn't define you. You do have a time and a space in every decision to take ownership. And that's quite difficult. So, like you said, if you go internal, and that's meditation gives you that space, you go internal. A lot of people run from it because you go, oh, Jesus, what am I going to find in there?
Yeah,
Forgetting that it's not a judgment competition. It's about with compassion going in and going, yeah, I do that. I've done that. I carry great shame over that. I carry disgust over that. I feel awful over that. So but I'm not going to add judgment to it. They are things that influenced me, and I made decisions. Now I have an opportunity. Now I have an opportunity to go, okay, this doesn't define me whether I like it or not. And I have different options and possibilities and choices that only I can make. You cannot even have that conversation with yourself unless you're willing to create a space. And for some reason, people are terrified of silence. I think it's feckin' deadly. I can go in there, the shit can visit me, the good stuff can visit me, but there's a part of me now that goes, I know that's going to move. That energy called the thought's going to move after a while. And as I sit in the quietness, it's actually lovely. I love life, but it's lovely not listening. Now, here's a question for you, beautiful lady. And I get it asked it, we're the instant gratification world. Want to know, give me the meditation. What will it do? You know, give me the pill, give me this, give me that, give me that. And that meditation was shy. What was the point of that? Sure, I sat there for 10 minutes and it got worse. It actually got worse. So when you're presented with that beautiful narrative, um, what would you suggest?
Yeah, I think it's really valid because there's a massive industry that is worth billions in the realm of spirituality, of well-being, of mental health,
I know.
whereby you can transform your life in 48 hours and
Yeah,
silver bullets and fix all of the things and do this and it's not something that I connect with on that level, even though I've done many things and tried a lot of things, but I'm interested in slow, steady progress, evolution that can take months, years and years and
yeah,
years. And I don't believe in quick fixes, Caroline. I just don't. For deep trauma that we've experienced. And every single human being on the planet has experienced trauma to
everyone. Yeah,
some degree, and also has experienced conditioning whereby we take on false narratives about who we are, what life is, all of these things that are moving and within us. And so when I teach people to learn how to meditate, I encourage skepticism. I actually
yeah.
encourage discernment
Hmm.
because I don't want people to believe in anything that they're not having a direct experience of themselves. So there's no dogma, there's no doctrine, there's no have a leap of faith in this. Just believe it, trust me. I don't use that kind of language. All I'm interested in is a person having a direct experience of themselves and creating a space in their day twice a day, 20 minutes twice a day, which is not
Hmm.
much. It's about 2 to 3% of a day, which is very
Yeah,
little time to invest in being with yourself. And the other thing on that, Caroline, is that's really with me now is that I was never taught how to be with pain as a child.
no,
I was never taught how to be with suffering, and that's no one's fault. We're all on our
absolutely.
own path.
Hmm.
There's no judgment around that, but you know that there's a few things that we do anytime we feel any discomfort or fear or pain. We numb ourselves with alcohol, drugs, porn,
Absolutely. Yeah,
sex, online
yeah,
shopping, gambling, all of the things, which is understandable because we have, or we distract ourselves, we just entertain ourselves, just pick up the phone, start scrolling, just
yeah.
do anything to not feel pain. And from my perspective, what I've learned over the years, the hard way in some ways, is that it takes far more energy to dodge pain than to just sit with it and let it move through you and cry and just let yourself feel whatever is arising in the live moment. It just takes so much more energy to dodge it and it causes a lot of distortion. And another add on to that is that in some ways, that's a privileged thing to say because if you're under immense stress in life and you've a lot of responsibilities, and it's like your day is so scheduled and maxed and you're just trying to get through or to survive, like you touched on, it can be difficult to go on that journey. And so sometimes when I'm speaking about meditation, I say from my perspective it's one of the most courageous practices on the planet, because we're just sitting with ourselves, and whatever arises, we just let it move through us. And then over time, we start to get really comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there's a spaciousness to just sit with ourselves and to be. And so maybe a month or 5 weeks ago, I was in meditation. I was sitting in my meditation room and I just started howling, crying,
Mm-hmm.
just bawling. And I didn't really have a narrative as to why. I didn't know why I was crying, but I just started weeping. And but I know now in all of the years, it's like, great, there's just something moving through me. There's just something releasing because I've created space for it to release. And that's what we
Totally.
want, you know?
And that's a beautiful, and a couple of things came to mind there. I was thinking, and once we get to this earth, suffering is inevitable, and that's, it's we get a shock, we're surprised, and it's part of the human experience. And I love when Viktor Frankl said, "If there's meaning in love, there's meaning in suffering." And that man, if that man can say that, I absolutely hear him. And also then, like that, yes, people are in all their different journeys and they're right. They have the right to say, I don't have that time. I don't have that luxury. And that's a choice. It's still a choice. I've worked with people in the absolute pits of nothing, and,
Yeah.
and still, they say, okay, I can take 2 or 3 minutes and breathe, just focus on my breath. I had to take ownership somewhere of this day and of my life. So for me, working and in my own life with the level of trauma and loss and in such a violent way, myself, Connor and Amy, we'd have every right to numb that. And I do, I numb it at times. We'd have every right in the world. And it does take a lot
Yeah.
of courage. It takes a lot of courage and really, really going into your essence to say, okay, even even in the most horrific and brutal and horrendous experiences, there's a choice. The faith is FATE is the fate, and that's just brutal. And then within that, there is a space of freedom of, okay, my nervous system is totally fucked. My brain is frying. My whole, I'm on my knees and all. And yet my mantra came in, which was crazy. I had the mantra doing the Ayurveda or the transcendental meditation. And I go, what are you coming in for? But the meditation, it started to do itself, and it just kept coming. And then the other, which I do, I've only started because I was dodging it, loving kindness. So in the group I go into every week, no, actually, Fran has a meditation online, and it's loving kindness. And initially, because it's like you towards yourself and then towards a stranger, and you just send an energy moves. Science even tells us now, science only a couple of 100 years old anyway, but energy moves. You go into a room and someone's pissed off, you will know. Do you know what I mean? If you go into a room and someone's lights up. So energy is in
Yeah.
movement. And John was an acupuncturist, so I'd be very familiar with stagnation, and I'd be very familiar with movement. And that's, you can move your thoughts, you can move your emotions, and because they don't even define you. But we do love and kindness, and then you have to send love and kindness to someone that you really don't like. And I'd be like, oh, okay, we'll start off, because it really, because I'm going, nah, you hypocrite, they piss you off. So I do the meditation, and it's online, we can access it, but it's lovely because it's allowing a humor because everyone thinks, I just love what you said, Susie. Spirituality has become an industry. Wellness has become an industry, meditation has become an industry, and it's a real pain in the arse, right? But that's life. There's always let's make money. So even the word spirituality, I just say to myself, I'm evolving as a human being while I'm on this earth. And the one thing, oh, you're back again. The one thing that I did have to do is I've made a commitment. You okay there? We're going in and out a little bit. Yeah. There we are. The
Yep.
internet's okay. So
Yeah.
one of the things I had to do, regardless of my day-to-day living and regardless of anything, I've made a commitment to myself and I've dedicated my own growth. I can't, even all those industries and all, and I specifically pick out groups, like you said, that carry an energy. And I need to be part of that. And in that energy, there's a sincerity. There's that field that's created and there's a genuine for the people within that group and then to send out to other people and it's real and it's genuine and there's humor in there and there'd be a few fucks and f's and all, do you know, it's just so, but like every reading group, I'm 5 years every week and it's reading The Power of Love, the mystics, it's we're starting off with a year. Viktor Frankl, that's my lifetime commitment. So, you know, I genuinely see, and from the experience of yourself, if you made that commitment to yourself to evolve and to be open-minded, it definitely gives you a different quality, I won't say quality, a different experience of living as a human being. What do you think?
So beautifully said. So beautifully said. And in the training I have done, a sentence that's often used is there's only one thing that's ever happening at the baseline of reality, and that's evolution.
Absolutely.
So we can choose to participate or we can be dragged through a hedge backwards,
I like that.
but it's happening whether we like it or not. And so I love how you speak to that, Caroline. I really do. And you're right, if we can, if our, even if it's a very subtle intention, I'm choosing to participate, I'm choosing to evolve, even if pain is also present, it has
Absolutely.
an energy to it and causes momentum. Um, and there's another thing that you were saying, I could just see it in my mind's eye as you were speaking, you know, when we are dealing with pain and suffering, which we all are to some degree, as we touched on. The thing that I loved about this practice is of meditation is that you're drawing consciousness or awareness in to the essence of your own being, towards the source of the mind and into your own deepest being or into your own deepest nature. And we start to gain access to a place within us that's beyond the pain and the suffering, that penetrates in through those layers. And in a strange way, it's the pain or the things that have happened, to me, I'll speak about myself, that forced me to go in
Yeah,
and to see, who am I beyond this story? Who am I beyond what happened to me? Can I travel in deeper? How deep can I go? Can I travel into the essence of who that I am and rest in that space? And then the more that we gain access to that space, it just starts to pour from the inside out, kind of like an inner sun,
hmm,
just pour through the trauma, through the pain, and healing can happen in that way, when we're forced to meet ourselves, beyond our stories and what have happened to us, even though they're a deeply integral part of our life and our story and very important. But is there a place within that we can travel into that is even deeper?
And I love what you said there because I do love now, and listen, we've worked in so many arenas and you know, again, I would agree. We have a body, so I have a body. I'm not my body, but I do have one, and it's actually on my side because by God, I've given it a beating, and I still do. By Jays, I put it up to it, and it's carrying my story the best way it can. So I've got to sort of say, okay. Listen to it without judgment and say, okay, what would help me, whether it's physical, whether it's meditative, whether it's soothing, the hot water bottle on the heart. So I sort of then look at, okay, uh, my psyche, which is my cognitive, my thinking. And as I say to people, your thinking is so seductive. Mother of God, it loves to catch you, and your emotions. And like that, I understand for me like that they don't define me. They don't. I do have, there's thinking comes and then it leaves. So I have like a not a detachment. I create a
Mm,
distance. So I go, okay, here comes the thinking, and it's that heavy shit, horrible energy which comes with a really horrific story. So yes, that story and those thoughts, yes, they some did happen somewhere, but I'm more than my story. Exactly what you're saying. I'm more than my story. And then with our emotions, and it's like that, exactly what you're saying, Susie, that within all of us, and it's all of us. This isn't just for the beautiful, spaced out, this is in every single human being. And it's like when it comes to emotions, and again, my emotions that come up, I've absolutely no control over them. They're an energy. I'm not meant to have control over them. But when they arrive, I do have a choice. And again, it's that space, that place that's quiet where I can go, right, I could murder in this moment. I could destroy in this moment. I could love in this moment. And and that energy is coming up. And there is this noetic more than in me that goes, okay, the emotions come up, fine. The next step is up to you. That is your responsibility, what you do with that energy. And we can't start that conversation with the different parts of ourselves if we're not willing to allow a little bit of space. And that's what I hear when you're saying inwardly that we all have access to it. And people want a quick fix, a quick way, prescribe something to me. I've done 6 classes of meditation. Why isn't it working? And it's right, okay. You can, I love what you said, to evolve or be dragged anyway. And that's the truth of it. But I love like that. If I was thinking, to work with you, Susie, what and let's take money into account, okay? Because everybody's going to throw something in the pot, right? And it's true to them, and for others, it's used as an excuse. I've seen it, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Time in the pot, life commitments, work. So that all exists, right?
Yes.
If if someone was to just say, okay, I'm going to initially consider, but then they have to make the choice because we're grown-ups, do you know what I mean? I'm going to bring this into my life as part of my life while I'm here, not the 6 classes and you'll be better and whatever. How would you start that relationship with them? With all the excuses being thrown in,
Mm,
because they will.
beautiful question. I love how you speak about accountability, Caroline. You really are, yeah, it's really important how you keep naming that. It's so important. It's a maturity. It's a mature energy to hold around all of this. It's so important. So the first thing that I question with people who reach out to me is, is the desire there to meditate?
Brilliant.
Do you actually desire it? Because if you're doing it because someone's pushing you into it, nudging you, or you think you should because someone on the internet says you should do it, it's so I'm interested in the origin of why they're coming to me. And a lot of the time, Caroline, people come to me at the end of their journeys when they've tried all of the things,
Absolutely.
tried all of the therapies. they've tried, and they just kind of come to me almost as a last resort.
Yeah.
That can be common, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And so I check their reason for coming. And I think a lot of it boils down to unworthiness.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I think about, our pain and suffering and how we're operating in life, at the baseline of the wound, if you ask again, and why, and why, and why, and why, and you keep going in and in
Yeah.
and in, a lot of the time when you get to the root of it, it's just unworthiness. I just feel like a piece of shit. I'm a
Yeah.
loser. I actually think I'm a terrible, wretched person when
Mm-hmm.
you really go in to a certain degree. And so we want visibility on that because it's running us if we don't have visibility on the
Totally.
unworthiness that's within all of us to some degree. And then when we can shine a light of awareness on that piece, we can come to understand that we're worthy of taking time for ourselves to do these practices and to create some kind of space and to take ownership of it actually and to make it non-negotiable because we're worthy of that.
Yeah. Totally.
Um, and so that's often a big piece because we can come up with many excuses and
Mm-hmm.
reasons. But again, there's that personal responsibility and accountability. Um, and I also work with a lot of parents, and something that
Brilliant.
can soften them into the practices is, and it's not like a whip or meant to be in any way judgmental, but when I suggest that you meditating is you are modeling self-care for your children, you're the embodiment of that in your household, and it has a massive ripple effect on your family system when they see mom or dad's going doing their meditation and
Yeah.
it's normalized. And so even if they can't do it for themselves, they go, oh, I don't want my kids to not care for themselves. It's,
Absolutely.
even if they're not in a space to have that for themselves, they will want it for their children. So, so there's many ways and means that I work with people and how people come to me. But I think a lot of it boils down to feeling worthy of taking time to do something for ourselves. And we're all drawn to different modalities, Caroline. Meditation isn't a silver bullet for everything.
Not at all.
Nothing is.
No.
But whatever we're drawn to different modalities of healing for a reason because we're all built so differently. But it's, do we feel even worthy of really holding that practice in our life every single day, being consistent and loving ourselves through the discomfort of it?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely beautiful. And like that, it's like just even when we're chatting here, and it's just such a lovely flow. And I'm, a couple of things there, I'm taking them on board and I'm resonating with them. And it's like, you know, there was, and it's not about dogma, and it's not about even there was and still is a lot where through different religions there is an encouragement of space, of time, and if people, some people genuinely that's their healing prayer, and all different and mantras and the whole lot,
Yeah,
no matter what. And even as I listen to the mystics, which all different, and my God, some of their backgrounds, the suffering and the
yeah,
holy Lord,
yeah,
but they knew there was something special about that quietness and stillness that was innately in them. And like there was a mystic Rabia, and she was sold into, slavery at 6 and prostitution. And eventually, in her 50s, they went into her room and her master, and that's their words then, I think it was
yeah,
the 8th century. And he seen this just glow, and she was praying, and he said it's the candle, but it wasn't the glow. It's from her. She like
yeah,
she never judged herself or judged the people who constantly abused her all her life. She held, and now that to me is like, but she, as we were saying, she sent him forward. That essence, that stillness, it's there. We can access that. Now, we might need a little bit. It could be through meditation, it could be through therapy, it could be through prayer, it could be,
Yeah,
there's definitely power in groups that are healthy, that are authentic, and that carry a bit of depth in them. Because I know I wouldn't like to be doing this on my own, but I
yeah,
also know to pick. I'm very, very mindful because there's some toxic shit out there, you know.
yeah.
But we pick it up. But I definitely, and listening to some of the other mystics and just any other people on this earth, it's like, don't make it a thing to do. It's about being. It's about, I have this part of me that cannot get sick, that cannot be destroyed, that that is eternal in energy. And in there, it has a healing capacity, and it has a love that we're probably terrified of, but it's a love for ourselves. And it's like to lean into that when you can. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you said, there's many, be it religions or indigenous peoples from the different lands, be it
Absolutely.
First Nations peoples of the Americas, of Australia. There's it's just innate where you gathered in circle around the fire, and these ways of being were so natural and innate for us to be in nature and to connect with our own deepest nature, which is eternal. And for some people, they might disagree with that. And
Yeah.
for many people, that won't resonate.
No.
From my own experience and direct experience, I know that to be true. Um, and that again is a privilege to have experienced a knowingness of that in my own consciousness in
Mm-hmm.
practice. And so when we can lean into that bigger, wider meta narrative, or the kind of cosmic story of beingness within us, and that can inform very much our human story as well, but that we're coming from that place.
Yeah.
And that's when love can pour forth, when when you speak about your loving kindness practice and someone that we can't stand or who is triggers the heck out of us, when we have that understanding of that eternal reality, we understand they are of that same energy. We
Yeah.
we can we're coming from the same space, but yet we're in bodies, we're in life, we're engaged in the human story. And it's
Totally.
not about love and light or any of that.
My God, no.
The opposite. And sometimes we have to establish strong boundaries with people who are violating
Totally.
our sensibilities. It's
Totally.
not about that at all.
No.
But we can't have an awareness of something deeper and an intelligence that is at play, that
Yeah.
can inform us in our day-to-day life as well, where we can understand something bigger that might be playing out, whilst also establishing what I call loving boundaries when we need to as well.
Yeah.
So it's both, and there's kind of dimensionality to it all.
With duality, which is known for thousands of years, that, you know, I walk and on one side, I have, say, like that, the presence of, say, something really beautiful, and on the other side I have a rage, and it's like they walk side by side, and I'm sort of saying, yeah, come with me. That's the day. I often think of, I love imagery, and even if I'm chatting with people or working with clients, and again, at the end of the day, this is all a personal choice, even, and like that, our circumstances and where we are, it really will be, we will be the only one. And we're blessed as well. Life sends us some beautiful people, even for, it could be a moment, or it could be, you just don't know where and when. And I
Yeah.
really love what you said. It's dig deep, you are worth it. And that's where, oh my God, as a therapist, it's like people have been battered and battered themselves. And it's like, Even if you feel you're the low, because shame is the lowest energy. It's the
Yeah.
lowest. It's a sick energy, and it can do sick things as well. And even in that, if somewhere just even pierce that, as unworthy as you feel, just like you said, Susie, you're of the same energy of every other human being on this earth. Do you know? And it's like that, whether we like it or not, is the truth. That then, as personalities and people, we make our choices. We make decisions on how we are in life, in our life. I love this imagery. It's a theatre and it's got lovely red chairs. I'm just sitting, and I'd often say to people, even when I'm working, but for myself, and it is that just distance because the pain and suffering at times and the trauma is just so brutal for me, and my family. And sometimes you're just on your knees. It's as simple as that. And you just go, well, like, I can't get off my knees today. And that's it. So I wait until I can get off my knees. But I love sitting in the theatre. And this John, my husband, he used to say life is a play. And in the most, he loved it. He had a great life humor, which mine is I'm allowing it more and more. And Viktor Frankl would have been big into life humor, which is a meaningful one now. So anyway, I just this beautiful one, I'm like, oh, sweet divine. And I sit in the theatre and it's lovely. And there's a beautiful play taking place. And there's all these characters and personalities. And they're me at different versions of me in different times. Then there are other people in my life. And it's beautiful and the lights and I'm looking in on it. And I'm going, there you are now, look at you there, that version of you. And oh, you're changing your bodysuit there and you're gone into character over there. And there's that other person with that personality. Oh, that's your family, that's your friends. And you can see the tension and the love and all. And when I sit in the theatre, I am not caught in the drama, my own drama, life drama, family, community, world drama. I'm able to look in and I'm able to have a distance in a way that I can have a love towards. I still have all of the pain and everything, but I'm that distance in the theater. There's something beautiful about it. And for me to be able to even say that with the absolute violence I had to experience, and my husband had to, as he was brutally murdered, and taken from us by another human being. So to even that I have that within me, and it's not that I'm special, it's like I'm making choices. And I remember Viktor Frankl saying to his oldest student, Dr. Elizabeth Lucas, she's still alive, beautiful lady. And he said, well, what do we do when we go out to teach and we go out to share? You've been in a concentration camp, like, how do we? And he said, every human being has their Auschwitz. So he is, life's putting it up to us, isn't it?
So powerfully said, Caroline. Can feel my heart is like blossoming like a flower as I'm hearing you speak. So much power and truth in your words and love in your words.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And what you're speaking to is just that capacity and ability to witness what's happening in the theater of our mind. That
Absolutely.
that awareness that's at the depth of your being, just being able to witness. And also there's a pouring of love from the depth. I mean, that's where it's at, Caroline. It's like the maha, it's the big practice to be able to do that with it. It's just so powerful how you speak to that.
And what's lovely, and I can't believe it's nearly an hour. I could hang out with you all day. What's lovely is something that really resonated, Susie, what you said. And if I was to, people will listen to this or they won't, they'll take it. That's not mine. This has its own energy and journey. But I really, really think what you said that, even just to consider, well, I am worthy, because people carry such horrible shame,
Yeah,
such disgust. So it's like, even if today, you are worthy, and absolutely all of so far, it doesn't define you. And then, like that, as you say, the theatre of our mind, that there is the whole s- life, it's all moving, it's happening. Try to sit back in that theatre. Try and allow yourself to be worthy to sit back and to see all the versions of yourself, and to the best of your ability, not to annihilate yourself and go, okay, there's some gems in here. There's some gems that I can take, even in the horrific situations, and I can bring them forward in my life in a meaningful way. And that's what meditation, I really believe, is gives you. And I know, when I think of John, and it's slow, and the pace, and back and forward, and I know he doesn't want how he was taken from this earth to define him. And I know he doesn't want it to define me, our children, and our family. I also know he's going, holy fuck, this is one hell of a journey. You know what I mean? He's going, Jesus McGuigan, and I'm going, tender, wait till I get you. But in all of that,
yeah.
that theatre we all have access to.
Yes, beautifully said. And it can be really hard to witness the content of your mind if you don't have a practice to
Absolutely.
assist you to penetrate beyond that layer and move into depth
Yeah.
of your own awareness. And so that's what this practice that I teach does. It's very hard to witness if you're in the thoughts, if you're in it and it's taking you. So we need these practices to create spaciousness within us so that we can begin to observe what's happening. And what's the Viktor Frankl quote, Caroline? You'll know it verbatim. Between stimulus and response, there is a space.
Don't know it. Haven't, but I know
It's
what you mean.
between the
Yeah,
stimulus, which is
yeah.
the trauma, the trigger, something happening, and your response to it. There is a
Oh,
space.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and that's sorry, I thought the actual quote. I was going,
Yeah,
no, I don't. Yeah, exactly. Back
that's not
to.
verbatim, but that's the essence
Totally,
of
yeah,
it.
yeah. And the essence is that, like that, when that emotion charges up, and I remember with John with acupuncture, his part of acupuncture, why it's so powerful for a lot of people, is it moves, because if there's stagnation, it moves the chi, it moves the energy, and it helps it move through the body. And that's exactly, there's a space there when that energy comes up, rather than feeding it and putting it out on someone else or putting it on yourself. There is a gap there, there is a space there, like to say in London with the tube, mind the gap. And that's so
Yeah,
true. And there it's like, okay, in this moment, the next step, and that's what Victor would talk about, is I now have a number, even in the immediate moment, because people go, oh no, in that moment. It's like, no, before you got to that moment, you were carrying a particular energy. So yeah, there is a gap there.
yeah.
Now, Mrs., we are now an hour talking. Does
Wow.
it feel like an hour?
No, not at
Wow.
all.
How are you?
I'm great. All the better for chatting with you, Caroline.
Me too, I have to say. If for people who choose to have a listen and have their little cup of coffee and all, um, if they wanted to even have that initial conversation with you, if there's a bit of a desire there, a little bit of little bit of a ignition, or ignite, or whatever you can say. But anyway, and if they would genuinely like to have a further conversation, and that possibility, or potential or choice of working with you, how might they do that, Susie?
They can go on my website, which is my name, susanquirk.com,
Brilliant.
and they can find me that way. That's probably the handiest way. Yeah.
Excellent. Anything, any I know I feel I'm in that lovely sea with you now, and it's not cold, thank God. And I just feel I'm bathing, and I've got so much from this conversation, and I'm really appreciative. And you've given me, just food for thought and that reminding again. So I'm so grateful for that. Anything as we finish up, anything you'd like to, and if you don't, grand, but anything
Yeah.
you'd like to say?
Yes. Gratitude for you, Caroline.
Uh,
You're so beautiful and powerful, and thank you for creating this space and for always keeping it so real and for making the choices that you're making to be such a bright light with everything that you've had to navigate and deal with. Your power is so immense. I can feel it from you, and my heart just opens in your presence. That's just
Thank
the
you.
truth. So we're in it together, and
Yeah.
thank you for everything that you're doing and for having me here.
Oh,
Thanks,
such a
Caroline.
and thanks a million. And what I love about you is you just take me where I'm at, and that's all anybody wants. So thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you, Caroline. Lots of love.